Hey, we need to talk about something that is most likely robbing you of results in the gym, and that is the tempo of your exercises. Hey, I'm Jeff PELIZZARO from 18 Strong, and I know you're probably thinking the tempo of your exercises doesn't really seem all that important, but I know that for me, when I figured out how important the tempo was and how to control the tempo in an exercise properly, it definitely changed things forever. So from now on, I want you to think of every exercise that you do, what's the tempo, what's the most efficient tempo for what you're trying to do, and how can I do it most effectively with the best posture and form. Now, the reason the tempo is important is when you look at a gym and you see most people going through their exercises, tell me they're not just kind of rushing through the exercise and trying to basically go through the motions of getting their workout done. The important part of the workout is the intent of the workout. So the more tension you can create through your muscles, the more you're utilizing that muscle, the more you're able to tell those muscle fibers to either turn on or off and really utilize them as one solid unit. The more muscle fibers you can recruit, the better that exercise is going to be. When we rush through an exercise, yes, we might be able to push the weight through that motion, but it might not be targeting exactly what you want it to target. So I'm going to show you a way that you can really make your exercises more efficient and not have to work so hard, but work a lot smarter. So it might not be that you're using as much weight, but you're using more intent. There's basically four main components when you're looking at the tempo of an exercise. And so I'm going to use a simple dumbbell curl to show you what these four components are. We have a concentric phase of a muscle contraction, and all that is a fancy word for shortening. The concentric phase in a bicep curl is when you're shortening the bicep. So that's the concentric. Then we also have the eccentric phase, which is the lengthening. That would be what your bicep's doing as you're lowering the weight. So while you're maintaining contraction, the weight is being lowered, the muscle fibers are being lengthened. Now, in between those two positions, you have both your starting position and then kind of your midpoint position. Now, we can utilize all four of those things to really maximize our efforts when we're doing an exercise. So when you're doing the concentric portion, you're pulling up, squeezing and shortening. Then you've got this little transition period of being at the midway point, which is kind of an isometric of the exercise, where you're just in one static position, and then you transition back to your eccentric. Then you get all the way down to the bottom where once again you're kind of stationary for a brief moment before you go back into your next repetition. When you're thinking of a tempo, you want to think of four different basically numbers or speeds. When I'm looking at an exercise, I want to know how fast I should be controlling the concentric, how fast I should be controlling the eccentric, and also what's happening at these different two transition periods. In most cases, when doing a bicep curl in a generalized program, I would make it where the concentric portion takes about 1 second, but the eccentric portion is where we want to slow things down and go a little bit slower. So 3 seconds is usually kind of a good point of reference. You could go 4 seconds, 5 seconds, you could go 2 seconds. But what I see most people doing is this. And there's no real intent on maintaining that control or contraction. Now, yes, there are times and periods where you might want to go through those fast repetitions to get as many reps in as possible. Maybe if you're doing kind of a timed repetition thing, you're working on your endurance of that muscle. But if you really want to work on the strength, the control of that muscle, I want you to focus on letting that weight down slow. Other exercises that this is appropriate for, really, I mean, it's appropriate for every exercise, but to give you a demonstration on different exercises, I'm going to do a little chest press here with the dumbbell. So this one, the concentric phase would be me pressing, because as I press, my pec muscles primarily are shortening. So I'm pressing the weight up, that shortens the chest muscles here. Then I've got this transition period. I could put a pause in here. I could pause here for 1 or 2 seconds if I wanted to work on some stabilization, and then come down nice and slow. So again, 3, 4 seconds is a nice good tempo to come down in order to work on that control and that strength. Down here, again, we have a transition phase where If I want to work on some explosive strength, I'm going to come down slow, and then I'm just going to push right back up. So I'm not pausing down there at all. But if I want to come down, I want to work on maybe improving my mobility and range of motion a little bit, maybe I'll pause down here, and then I can work on that pause into generating some force and strength there. So it's 3, 2, 1. Then if I don't pause, I go right back into the concentric phase. So again, there's different tempos that are going to benefit you in different phases of whatever you're trying to do in your program. But for the most part, most people should really concentrate more on slowing the eccentric down and even speeding the concentric up. Many times we do it flip-flop. We go slow on the concentric and then we let it kind of fall when it's more the eccentric portion. So we let gravity just kind of take the weights and do whatever it wants with it. One other example would be if you're doing a squat and you're going down into your squat. What phase is this? This is the eccentric portion. Then down here, you can pause if you want in this little transition, or you can not pause and then go straight into the concentric where you're coming back up. So an easy way to think about this is the eccentric portion is whenever gravity could just take the weights and crash them down. So if I take this weight and I'm going to squat and I just let it drop me, gravity can just pull me straight down. The eccentric portion, I need to control that. Make it nice and controlled so my muscles are actually doing the work. Gravity could make me come down here, but I want to control it. I want my muscles to feel that. And then from here, this is where you want to explode to really work on that pop, to get more explosion. This is what's great for your drive, for your golf game. Get that pop in your exercises. When I'm working with golfers, I'm going to work on going down in a slow fashion and then quick, or going down in a slow fashion and then quick, because you want that explosion when you hit the golf ball. You don't want your muscles to just kind of not know what they're doing and not know how to hold and store that tension so it can then react with the power. If you want a little more information on how to utilize tempos, how to write them in your own programs, or what we do here, I'll put a link to an article that I wrote a while back on tempos and what they look like and how to write them out. Again, it's kind of a 4-digit number that I explain with charts in the article. Also, you could go to find our book, The Golfer's Guide to a Bogey-Proof Workout, where we lay out the tempo piece in the book as well. You can find that on Amazon. Again, we'll put the link to that down below in the notes in the description. Don't forget, we have the podcast over on iTunes, the 18 Strong Podcast, where we have tons of great guests, and we're always interviewing and looking to find new ways to bring the tour experience to you, what the greatest golfers in the world, greatest medical fitness professionals are doing to make their golfers better so we can help you get better. Jeff from 18 Strong, train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.